kinds of cameras. Can one control the others? Answering the question, do body cameras really work? The first cameras used by police were closed-circuit television, more commonly known as surveillance cameras. The technology was first developed in Germany in 1949, but was only capable of showing live footage. The ability to record and play back wasn't developed until the 1970s with the video cassette tape. The next major development in CCTV came in the 1990s with multiplexing, which allowed up to 4 cameras to be viewed on one screen, reducing the amount of storage required. Currently, surveillance cameras are digital and everywhere, working to prevent crime, monitor areas, and to be used as evidence. The next major development in police cameras came in the 1980s, when retired officer Bob Sturgener created the dash cam. These were cameras mounted on the front dashboard or windshield of a car that captured what happened in front of the police car. Currently, 72% of police vehicles are equipped with them. Their original purpose was as evidence in drunk driving cases, which granted them support and funding from the Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Now, they continue to be used as evidence in traffic cases, but also as training tools for future officers to learn from. And now, body cameras have entered the market. First introduced in the UK around 2005, they're exactly what the name would suggest, a camera worn on the body of on-duty police officers. They're either located in the helmet, in eyeglasses, or, most commonly, attached to the torso. They're designed to record police encounters, showing the situation from the officer's perspective. Currently, 95% of large police forces use body cameras, or plan to implement them in the near future. But why exactly do we need them? August 9, 2014, in Ferguson, Missouri, Officer Darren Wilson stopped 18-year-old Michael Brown on the street for matching the description of a convenience store theft. It is possible there was a struggle, though eyewitness statements vary. 2 shots were fired from inside the police car. The teen took off down the street, and Wilson pursued on foot. The details are heavily debated. Some witnesses say that Brown surrendered and put his hands up, but Wilson shot anyway. Others say Brown antagonized the officer and advanced towards him. The teen was shot 6 times, which proved fatal. The conflicting witness statements and the fact that a white officer shot an unarmed black teen made this case heavily debated. The suspicion was furthered when it was discovered that Officer Wilson had a history of racial bias and often used racial slurs. Wilson claimed that he acted within the law and according to protocol, but it was his story against dead kids. The grand jury decided not to indict the officer, but that's not what the people of Ferguson wanted to hear. They took to the streets, violent riots breaking out all over the city. Tear gas and rubber bullets were used against the rioters, the National Guard eventually being called in. The federal government did an investigation into the Ferguson Police Department after the incident and found a corrupt force. The department was almost entirely white in a predominantly black neighborhood. They regularly used racial slurs and stopped people on the street without probable cause. They were aggressive towards anyone who questioned police tactics. But it still remained that no one knew the truth of what happened the day of Michael Brown's death, and they likely never will. After the verdict, Michael Brown's mother began to push for legislation requiring police to wear body cameras. In her eyes, the police had murdered her baby and gotten away with it. Miss Brown wanted police officers to be held accountable for their actions. She didn't want there to be any question of what happened between an officer and a suspect. If Wilson had been wearing a body camera, the details of that day would be clear. So this inspired the large push for body cameras. It was believed that the presence of cameras would encourage both police and citizens to be on their best behavior, or, if not, act as evidence to prove or disprove wrongdoing. It was also hoped that the new push for and presence of body cameras would rebuild the public's trust of police, who had become the villains rather than protectors in the eyes of many. If there was always video evidence available, there would be no need to be suspicious of police or question their actions. But now the question is, do they work? The most famous study of body cameras was conducted in Rialto, California in 2012. 54 officers were randomly assigned each shift to either wear or not wear a body camera. The study looked at 2 factors to measure its success: the number of complaints against the police department and the instances in which officers reported having to use force. The results were overwhelmingly positive. There was a 50% decrease in reported use of force by those wearing the body cameras compared to the control group, 8 compared to 17. And the body cameras showed that in all these cases, the suspect was the one who initiated the violence. Comparatively, it was discovered that 25% of the control group reports of force were started by the officer. There was also a 90% drop in the complaints filed against the Rialto Police Department, against the control and experimental groups alike. The good behavior seemed to be contagious. Just the presence of a few cameras on other officers promoted improved actions. The only issue with the Rialto study was a small sample size. At first, it was unclear how effective the cameras would be in a larger setting. Some more studies were conducted, and the results became mixed and inconclusive. When studies were performed in 10 different cities on 3 different continents, approximately 50% saw the same positive results reported by the Rialto study. However, the other 50 saw either no change or an inverse impact. They experienced more uses of force and complaints. Researchers found that these conflicting results could be due in part to police forces not following the study procedures. It required that experimental officers keep their body cameras recording for the entire duration of their shift. It was discovered that officers who were free to turn the camera on and off whenever they chose had a 71% increase in their use of force, likely because the officers knew there would be no evidence to show the circumstances, as they had personally turned the camera off. If procedure was followed correctly and cameras remained on for all encounters, there was always a 37% decrease in force used. Thus, body cameras only have a positive impact on police force when they are used properly according to protocol. Since their impact on police behavior is still unclear, the usefulness of body cameras can be assessed in their impact on crime. Although violent crime rates have steadily declined over the past 20 years, safety is still a major concern. Finding the best way to prevent crime is top priority. But as cameras and policing progress, they seem to have less and less effect on crime rates. CCTV remains the most effective at combating crime. A 61% decrease in nonviolent crime is accredited to surveillance systems. It is especially effective in parking lots, leading to a 26% decrease in vehicle crime. However, it has little to no impact on violent crime. Dash cameras are significantly less effective at crime prevention. In fact, they only have a noticeable impact when used by private citizens rather than police. The presence of a dashboard camera protects against carjackings and deters vehicle theft. Still, this minimal effect of dash cameras on crime rates is greater than that of body cameras, which have shown little to no statistical significance. The police dash and body cameras may be ineffective in part because they are reliant on the location of officers. Generally, police arrive after a crime is committed rather than early enough to prevent it. And of course, everything comes at a price. Each body camera can cost anywhere from a few $100s to $2,000, with an additional $1,500 each for information storage. Detroit spent $5.2 million on their 1,500 camera system. Kansas City plans to spend even more, budgeting approximately $6 million for their 1,360 camera system, $2.1 million of which is strictly initial startup costs. Forces then have to pay an additional $2.7 million every year to maintain the system. So who pays this hefty bill? Under President Obama, the White House had plans to fund $75 million in order to buy 50,000 body cameras for police forces around the nation. They would match the investments that police departments made, helping to spread the new technology. Thus, the federal government will often fund half the costs of implementing body cameras, but the rest still comes from the individual department's annual budget, meaning the burden falls on the taxpayer. Like most things, body cameras have their benefits and their faults. They're able to lower the instances in which police report the need to use force, and limit the complaints made by citizens against police. They can also be used as evidence in cases, both against a suspect and an arresting officer. In general, they encourage better police behavior and work to restore the public's trust in police. However, they're also costly to install and maintain, and have no real impact on crime rates. Since several studies have come back inconclusive, it's difficult to say with any certainty exactly their impact on police behavior. Additionally, since the cameras are designed to show what an officer would see, there can be times in which the video does not show all the circumstances and surroundings of a situation. And even if they do, it's not always guaranteed that everyone will see what truly happened, rather than what they want to see happen. So where does that leave us? We can't ignore the fact that body cameras don't prevent crime like CCTV, or give a full, unbiased view like a dashboard camera. Also, they're costly to the taxpayers and police departments. However, they do generally affect police behavior positively and limit the citizen complaints. They also offer a record of police encounters and give the public the ability to see what's happening. So in my opinion, we use them sparsely. Maintain the dashboard cameras already in place in police vehicles, but have body cameras on officers that automatically go on when an officer leaves their car, which will require less storage. To maintain their privacy, officers should be allowed to turn off their cameras for a short amount of times during bathroom breaks and private conversations, approximately 2 minutes, but no longer than that. It is only under these conditions that body cameras will really work.